Kimura. Kimura Recordings. We got Gabe Fry here, owner, I guess, and sole employee.
Sole proprietor.
Proprietor. That's a good word. That sounds pretty fancy.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yep.
Where did you get that name?
So I'm a big MMA fan.
Mm-hmm.
Frank Mir, former heavyweight champion. He pulled off a pretty crazy comeback win one time with a Kimura and broke this dude's arm.
Jesus.
And
is that a jiu-jitsu move? I've heard that.
What is that like? Like, what does it look like?
It's like an arm lock.
It's hard to describe it, but it's pretty brutal.
You actually it's pretty much impossible to show without another limb to.
That's fine.
And I do it on the mic stand, but it's so flimsy. But
you'll probably break it. Yeah.
Yeah, but you basically let's see if I can even do it. But you basically you grab the arm and you lock your other arm around it and you push your elbow up.
Okay.
Basically, and it's like pulling their arm down.
Damn.
And
now you have to tighten that probably.
Yeah. It was worth it. Worth it.
For sure. That's cool though.
Yeah, something like that anyway.
Yeah.
I'm not I don't train a bunch or anything like that, but
have you ever trained before?
Just with friends a little bit.
I remember you guys having one of your guys' places you lived in. I think you guys had a bag, didn't you?
Yeah.
Or something. Yeah. Yep. And I think you guys had mats laid out in the basement and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, when we were back in the day when we were recording something. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that was awesome.
That's
the play area.
That was Bill, Ward, and Wes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I remember that. Yeah, in Blue Springs.
Yep, and I lived in the garage.
You did? I didn't know that.
Yeah, man. I was trying to keep that overhead low so I could be ready to tour, which never ended up happening again. So.
Yeah. So you with the band stuff, are you kind of at this point glad that it didn't work out how you wanted it to? Do you think it was kind of maybe shaping up for what you're doing now?
I wouldn't say I'm glad it didn't work out because that's always what I've wanted. But what ended up happening is, I just ended up burning out really. I went so hard for so many years trying to make it happen. Mm-hmm. Doing whatever I could to, try to get the band off the ground, and it just ended up breaking me. So, but it's kind of funny because the way the events ended up happening. So I don't know. I just felt like towards the end of the band, I was just I didn't want to do it anymore. But I was so
felt like you needed to kind of.
Yeah, I was so in the going through the motions, so in the habit of doing it that that even though I didn't want to do it anymore, that didn't matter. And it shouldn't always matter.
Right.
There's going to be times you don't enjoy doing whatever you're doing, even if you've loved it with all your heart at the beginning, Mm-hmm. But I don't know. I think I just it felt a little different. Like I wasn't enjoying it at all anymore for an extended period of time, and so that's when I was like, maybe I should just get out because
get a reset.
Well, it's become like a job at that point where
exactly
it's like any other job.
Yeah, that's how I described it too. Mm-hmm. And I was working a job at the time, and I was putting in a lot of hours, and so I don't know. I'm sure the two had something to do with it because I was working 50 hours a week. 55
a normal
maybe.
Job.
Yeah, mm-hmm. And then on top of that, we were recording a record for we spent 3 years on that last record.
I remember those days.
Yeah. I wrote it in probably a year, and then we kept re-recording it. Jesus. And it was just oh gosh, even that will burn you out.
Oh yeah, man.
It was just a lot of stuff.
Yeah, the same stuff over and over, and
and then you put the record out and nobody cares, and you're like, oh my god,
shit.
That's so much work for nothing.
Feels awful.
And it's not nothing, but
man, it's learning for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm sure you learned a ton about just sound and everything just while doing it.
Yeah, I learned. Well, I ended up learning a lot from it. At the time, I was just frustrated.
Yeah.
That what I thought was a great record didn't get any traction,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that getting away from doing the band was a really good thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I wish it would have worked out, but it was a good thing to get away. I got away for about 6 months, like not doing anything.
Mm-hmm.
And then my job started going downhill, and I was like, it was looking like, basically who knows how much longer the company would even be going. And so I was like, I got to figure something out. And, then I started coming across these Creative Live courses. Are you guys familiar with Creative Live?
I think so, yeah.
Never done one, but I've it's kind of, is it like a paid thing online kind of?
Yeah.
They're actually worth something kind of?
Yeah, so it's like, industry professionals teach creative courses.
Oh.
Okay.
And they're really good, and it's so cool because the audio channel was like a bunch of metal guys, and so it was so perfect. For me.
Yeah.
So like all of this is happening at once, by the way. It's kind of crazy when you really think about it. And so I'm burning out, job's going downhill. I start finding out about these Creative Live classes where A.L. Levy's teaching courses on mixing metal, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like I need this so bad because I sucked at recording or mixing. And so I don't know, I think I just was like, well, I guess I could do the recording thing. It's not, it's something I never was like, that's what I want to do,
Right.
But it seemed like a good option for me, because I already had all, not the best gear, but, gear I had compiled for recording the Solace records.
Mm-hmm.
And, I didn't want to give up on music. And I don't know. It just seemed like, especially the more I look back at it, just seemed like a natural progression. And now being able to look back, I can see, I can, see that, all the things that I did, like, in the early days,
Mm-hmm.
When I first started discovering, like, metal and more technical forms of metal, there's not that many people who are capable of playing that kind of stuff. And
for sure, I tried, man, and I can't. I was never able to do it. I was pretending.
It's tough, man. It takes a lot of work, not only just to get to that level, but to maintain it, And so I wanted that really bad. And so I tried to fill any gap that I could to make that happen. So, I started writing music on Tabit, which is like a tab notation software. And it's funny because it's not that I never thought about it as working on a songwriting craft, but that's what I was doing. And now that's one of the skills that I built that I feel like lends itself very well to recording. And it's cool that I got the experience playing in bands and things like that, so that I can empathize and relate to bands that are wherever they're at for the most part in their journey,
Right.
And so that helps a ton. And then, then the other side is the recording side and learning those tools. And, I had some of the gear, and, it was nice to have those, find Creative Live and start honing the skills even more. And
what are some of the guys you worked with on there? You were telling us earlier.
Yeah, so like Joey Sturgis, who's worked with the Devil Wears Prada.
Was he when they were with like Ferret?
Well, Devil Wears Prada, I think they've always been with Rise.
I could be totally wrong there.
Yeah, I might be too, because I don't
sure.
really listen to them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's like, they call him like the godfather of metalcore.
Okay.
Or whatever. He helped,
kind of form the sound that everyone's used to.
Yeah, exactly. So, so there's him, and then there's A.L. Levy, who, I was just talking about, he did classes on Creative Live. That's where I first saw him and heard about him. And he was out of Audio Hammer in Florida with Jason Sukoff, and they've worked with Black Dahlia Murder and Whitechapel and August Burns Red and
all the notable.
Yeah, they've worked with a lot of really big metal bands and stuff. So, and then there's Joel Wanasek, who's more of a radio rock kind of guy, and he's worked with. I think he did Machine Head recently.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Nice.
And who else? Band called Vinyl Theater. But yeah, so those guys basically started what's now called Ultimate Recording Machine, URM. And but it was initially called the Joey Sturgis Forum Podcast. And I got turned on to that actually from Creative Live. I think, I think they still are affiliated with Creative Live. But so they started that, and I jumped at the opportunity to start learning from those guys, and that's been a really awesome thing. Not just for me, but for anybody who who listens to that and who's a member of that. You get to watch an engineer mix a song every month.
Yeah.
And, just
like
to
from
be
start to finish.
Yeah,
that would be actually really helpful.
Oh, it's awesome.
Yeah.
You can learn so much, just from watching other people. But yeah, so that's kind of that's roughly the journey that happened. Played in a band, got burned out, started going down the recording path, learned from some pretty good guys, and you're always learning, you're always honing your craft and getting better. But
yeah, that's kind of one of those like crafts where there's never like a point where you get to where you're like, all right, I think I'm good enough now.
No,
I'm gonna stop. Like, this is a good place. You just keep going.
Yeah, somebody always puts out a record that makes you feel like you suck.
Right.
Like
you got to
3
stay
months.
on your toes at all times.
For sure. Yeah. Because there's always gonna be somebody who's better at it. Same thing with playing music.
Yes. If you become stagnant, you won't keep growing, and then people will get bored and move on.
Yeah,
100%.
Exactly. Plus, in that industry, the recording industry, there's constant seems like every day there's like innovation. Every time something comes out, it's like crazy.
Yeah, it's
crazy.
It's definitely progressing, and not only just the technology, but like the techniques and just constantly building on the knowledge and just the foundation of knowledge that over time that's being built of what is good audio, what is what are good frequencies for a guitar as opposed to a bass, or
it's crazy how so many people don't even like that there's a whole part of the world that doesn't even understand any of that. It just kind of because we're kind of all about that stuff, so it's crazy that nobody really knows what's going on. I was talking about the way that kind of the engineer is just as much a part of the band as the band is almost.
Yeah.
Do you get what I'm saying?
I think
you listen
so.
to something on the radio and you're like, oh, I love Rihanna, but the producer made her sound like God. You know what I mean?
100%.
I mean, she's great. She's obviously super talented, but there's no substance without the producer.
Yeah,
basically.
it's the sum of multiple parts and people.
Right.
Yeah, you need a team, to really, really do something extremely high quality, And the recording engineer and the mixing engineer and mastering, and they may all be the same person, but they're all part of the team. And then you've got, your graphics person and then maybe a booking agent and management and maybe a label if you have one of those. But yeah, it's very much a team effort, and I think it's really important to build a good team around you and your band. And it doesn't necessarily feel like that, because you've got your band who you're with, you know, you spend a lot of, you know, your time around those guys, and you build a bond and a relationship.
Yeah.
And the people you don't see as often, like your recording engineer or maybe your graphics guy, you know, or whatever, they're still as much part of the team, but you just don't interact with them as much.
Right.
But
yeah, talking about your business, is feedback like huge for you? Like, on your recordings or on your, just the way you run your business, like people interacting with you. Does that make sense? Like the dialogue between you and either other artists or other, like, do you talk to a lot of recording, you know, like engineers and stuff, trying to get like, hey, this is my stuff, like, what do you think? And actually getting like a professional opinion?
I did.
That was kind of a run-on question.
No, I see what you're saying with it. I did a lot more of that before, although I've always been kind of cautious. I think that when I was first starting out, I adopted a lot of stupid practices just because some guy that was better than me told me to do that. Mm-hmm. You know?
Shit. Now I'm like, oh no. Because I always take everyone's word
sucks.
for it. Yeah.
I'm not excluded from this, by the way. So you don't
it's
have
an
to,
ongoing thing.
Part of the journey.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So, you know, once I started to, okay, so when I was first starting out, I got turned on to the Andy Sneap forum. I don't know if you guys have ever been on there.
I know I've heard that name, and I've seen it on a lot of different plugins.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly what he does, though.
He's a big recording and mixing engineer, and he's got a huge forum that you know, that is dedicated to recording and mixing, and you know, there's a huge community there, but you know, Andy himself doesn't post on there a ton, and he's not giving tons of advice. But you've got all these other guys that, you know, it's kind of like a hierarchy of knowledge. Whoever has, you know, the most, you know, clout there, you know, is basically, you know, whatever they say is going to be kind of gospel kind of a thing. And so, you know, and recording and mixing and all that stuff is so subjective. What may work for you may not work for me.
Right.
And it's kind of funny because, you know, heavy music can be kind of an elitist culture. And,
oh yeah.
And so
For sure.
I think most can. You're more immersed in that scene. It's pretty much like that everywhere.
It's an angrier culture.
Yeah.
Maybe
Sometimes.
angrier, yeah, because all the music
angry,
is kind of
but
pissed off.
Yeah. It's like a lot of really great musicians and things like that don't go anywhere, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah. I mean, there's some of the best guys I've ever seen play that nobody really knows about them. I mean, it's, you know what I mean? It's
Sure.
It's crazy how many there are, but the ones that actually make it, you know what I mean?
right. So, so basically, yeah, I just ended up sort of adopting these practices that really didn't serve me or my style or my mixes. And once I started watching, you know, some of the more professional guys like AL Mix or Joey or Jamie King or whoever, I saw that none of those guys are doing like some of the stuff that I was doing before.
That's cool.
And
that's a good boost.
Yeah. So, you know, I learned to sort of like, you know, throw away some of those things that you know, I'd adopted and learned, and basically I'm pretty weary of asking advice, especially from somebody who isn't like, whose opinion I don't really trust, or
For sure.
you know.
Yeah.
And so, and those guys are so busy all the time, I can't really, you know, just be like, hey.
Yeah, you can't phone them up.
Yeah.
In the middle of the night.
Yeah, and I don't feel like I'm necessarily in a place anymore where I need to. I can tell, you know, by, you know, when I'm referencing a record for the mix, you know, every time I'm, you know, mixing a a record, I asked the band for 2 or 3 references.
Yeah, good idea.
Yeah, and so, once I get all the sounds dialed in and everything like that, and I'm doing the final, I guess it's really more in the mastering stages when I do this, but, I'll reference my mix with whatever they want me to, and I try to get the low end in the same ballpark and the mid-range, or the low mids, and then the high mids, and then the high end. And
that's smart.
Yeah, and so that will show me how far off I am or not. And then, I've been doing this for almost 10 years now, so I've got a handle, I think, on sort of, I know how to stay within my boundaries, which is basically like my template. Like, I've got a mastering template that I use on everything. And
See your sound.
Yeah, exactly. And it took me 10 years to develop that chain. But so I mean, it's not bad by any means to ask for another pair of ears for your track, but it's just good to be cautious.
Like, take it with a grain of salt type deal.
Yeah, because it's very, very much subjective, and you can have somebody telling you that there's something wrong with your mix when it's really just a stylistic preference,
right?
That you're not serving of this person or whatever. So it's tough, man. It's the lines are really
fine lines. Yeah, because you can have somebody who is like just starting out or something, and they're trying to get into it, and there's even though they may not be as good as like you are, for instance, there's somebody who likes that though.
Sure.
You know what I mean? There's always somebody who likes it, so it's like, it's just as much good as it isn't, if that makes any sense at all.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's records that do really well that I hate the sound of, and
me too.
It's not like my records are really taken off, or
But still, it's weird. Like, I actually like a lot of pop music, but some of the like stuff they do, it just seems like witchcraft.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You mean production-wise?
Production-wise, yeah. It's almost like they figured out some kind of crazy like formula for how it should sound, and like it's supposed to like trick the listener into like listening.
That's why they get paid the big bucks.
Right.
Yeah. They figured out like tones that trigger like certain parts of your brain to be like feel good, to feel good.
Right. Yeah. It's more than just music. It's like programming you, or
yeah. It's kind of the way it feels sometimes.
Right.
But I love it.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing, man. Like, if the music makes you feel something, then that's all that matters.
Yeah.
And that's like, that's what I was listening. Like, I was listening to one of my favorite engineers talk today about, when he thinks a mix is done, and it's when he forgets about the mix, and what he says is he starts dancing or singing, to the song or whatever. Whenever you can forget about, you don't have to think about it anymore. It makes sense. Yeah, that's when you're close or you're done. You know, and that's certainly true for me. But I think that your standards are super important there. Because if your standards are low, and if you are just kind of stoked on anything you do, then you can
suffer and then not even realize it.
Yeah, I mean, like if your ceiling's like low for your expectations, then you might be stoked on the mix and it's not really ready. So, again, it's one of those things.
I'm sure I've done that a million times.
Hey man,
it's part of it.
We all. Yeah,
and then over time you just get better and better.
Well, 100%. I do that to Gabe a lot. I'll be like, dude, I think I hit like a new ceiling.
Yeah. And you probably did that.
And I did, and I feel awesome. And then I'll like, it just even a couple months will go by, and I'm like, oh my god.
No,
you know what I mean?
But that's me too.
Yeah.
And that's anybody, like anybody good. That that's just the process. If you're not looking back and like bummed about the last mix you did or whatever, you're not getting better, probably.
That's true.
That's
very true.
If you're just content with whatever, then that's fine, but you're not gonna improve on it.
Yeah.
Right. I always like to go back and go through my old stuff even, and like just like 5 or 6 years ago when I first started, and listen to that, and it's like, okay, there's a reason
Worlds
you're doing
of
this.
difference.
Yeah, it's like, okay, you don't suck. You're still progressing.
Steadily improving every time.
Yeah. I mean, it takes time too. You know, those guys said like it takes 7 to 10 years to actually get good at this, and that was true for me. You know, I felt like
in 2 more years I'll be there.
Yeah. I mean, like once I hit about 7 years, I feel like that's when I started doing okay.
Yeah.
You know,
that's probably true for a lot of things in life.
Sure.
Just any craft that you.
Yeah, I feel like most of the things we're talking about are like applicable
master.
to a lot of other like areas of like art and stuff too.
And everybody's different. Everybody has different levels of talent and all that kind of stuff. You know. And it takes time to develop your ears, the critical listening, and the other thing is just developing the intuition of knowing when your sounds are there. You know,
your gut feeling.
Yeah,
trusting it. You know?
Yeah. So like, it's about standards. It's about what do I have, and where do I want it? Like I have a certain standard for my snare sounds, and if like, you know, I know where I want it, and I can usually get there, you know, with sample reinforcement, you know. But it's just knowing what you have and how to get there.
Right.
That's what mixing is really for the most part in recording.
Yeah.
You know, it's just knowing what the best source sound you can get. Just throwing up the microphone, you know, say on a kick drum or whatever, knowing what that kick sounds like and what the best it can be in that state of rawness. And, you know, just getting the highest starting point you can and building from there.
Right.
Because, like you're only as good as your weakest link. And if your source tone is weak, then your ceiling's going to be low. You know,
for sure.
So it's all about standards. It's about you know, having high standards and knowing what you have, how far away it is from your standard, and how to get it there.
Right.
You know.
So for you, like, do a lot of people? Am I like one of many people who like is like, hey, dude, check this out. Like, what do you think of it?
Yeah. I mean, I definitely get some people asking me to check out their stuff.
I mean, it's not just like I'm a random person either.
No.
Like,
you got some rapport.
It's just like I send stuff to him, and I'm like, hey, does this suck? Or
you know, I'm going to give you an honest opinion of it.
Yeah,
most of the time.
Yeah, and I can tell even if you don't. I'm like, okay, I can tell by like your reaction. I'm like, okay, there's some stuff I need to change, and I usually know what it is because we just have like similar like
tastes in that, or we're listening to a lot of the same music. So
exactly, yeah. So you can tell like when I'm making something that it's like, okay, it's because we've been listening to this record a lot or something.
Sure.
So
good. Yeah, you actually
it's not quite
you'll
the
tell
sound.
me like a reference to kind of put in my head sometimes, and I'm like, okay, you're getting close to that sound. That record had or that artist used.
That's what I do a lot. I try not to like. I don't ever want to rip anything off, but I definitely like. If I hear like a lot of my stuff that I try to like go after is like percussive sounds. Like I'm always super interested in like percussion and like new samples and like crazy stuff like that. So I'll try to like almost copy certain ones that I hear and like, or like the way that it's mixed or the reverb that they put on it or something. So and that's been like a huge thing I've been doing.
Yeah, there's definitely nothing wrong with that. You know. Again, my bringing up Creative Live, Chase Jarvis, the guy who started Creative Live, he has this awesome show called The Daily Creative, and he takes like 2 phone calls from a creative, and gives them advice. And
that's cool.
Yeah, and he talks about, you know, taking photos and because he's a world famous photographer, and he talks about how trying to copy another photographer's style is practice more than it is stealing, and you should do that. You should try to copy sounds. You should try to chase those sounds and figure out how to arrive at them, and you know, for practice sake, you know, and so that's good. I mean, and it's essentially what I'm doing when I'm referencing another record.
That's true too. Yeah. Might just be a different type of referencing.
Exactly.
Yeah, referencing like the actual mix of it or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're still looking for little tips, and you have something to compare to. I think.
Exactly. Yeah. Because my room's not perfect, and you know, some of those great records are handed off to 3 different people. You know, you got the recording engineer who hands it off to the mixing engineer who hands it off to a mastering engineer, and that's 3 pairs of ears on a record.
Yeah.
You know, and when all those guys are good, you're going to get a better product. You know,
for sure.
So to reference a record like that it's going to be advantageous for sure.
Yeah. Speaking of rooms, what do you like when you walked in? Did you do you kind of I'm trying to think of how to
like if you walked in, we're like, oh, okay, what's going on here?
Sort of
with
like,
all the
or
room
like, oh my
shape.
god,
Sure.
his speakers are so close to the wall, like
Well,
how do you mix in this room?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I would be like, this would
Would
be
you be
hard,
freaking out?
this would be a hard room to mix in for sure,
Yeah,
man. Low
yeah.
ceilings and tight walls and
Yeah, I had to do a lot of
Lots of
outside.
corners and-
I had to do a lot of outside referencing, like in the car, and
Yeah.
like I mean, I basically can't hear any bass at all.
really.
It's unless I sit like a certain distance back. I have to like go sit on the couch you're sitting on to be able to
Gotcha.
hear the bass.
Sure.
It's just cancels it out in here for some reason. I don't know
Yeah,
why.
there's so many corners. I'm sure a lot of the low end gets trapped in them, and
Yeah.
and those speakers are probably like what, 5-inch speakers, 6-inch.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
So those don't
They're not
produce
super
a lot.
bassy anyway.
Yeah,
Yeah,
those
it's
don't
true.
produce much low end at all.
Yeah.
So if you like the speakers, I mean, you could get a sub, and that would help you a lot. I just got a sub over the summer, and that changed a
Changed
lot
everything.
for me. Oh yeah,
Really?
You forget
Yeah.
that whole frequency range is there until you
man, and
until you feel it. I think.
Yeah, I have good speakers too. You know, I've got the Personas Scepter S8s.
Those are the ones that have the weird like horn.
Yeah,
Like,
they're the
those things are
coaxial.
wicked. I've showed you them. I always
Yeah.
talk
Yeah.
about those. I'm like, dude, Gabe's got.
Yeah,
these
he's like, look at
speakers.
these monitors. Gabe. Yeah.
Yeah, they're sweet. You know,
They're
it's
awesome.
awesome because the high end and the low end come from the same
That's right.
plane. Mm-hmm. You know, so you're not getting any kind of
Kind of stacked on each other instead of.
yeah.
Well, they're not anymore, I guess.
Yeah, so like with the speaker like that, your high end is going to reach your ear at a different
Like point in time.
yes
Almost.
than the low end, and
Damn.
and so they're phase aligned with the coaxial speaker, and I guess there's like some kind of DSP processing in there to keep like the any phase issues.
That's good.
It eliminates the phase issue, so I love them. You know, and then I got the matching sub
Oh,
with it.
Yeah.
And
Nice.
dude, it's so crazy. Like you think you can hear the low end, but you can't. You
Yeah.
know, I mean, depending on what you have, but you know, I've been mixed on an 8-inch speakers for the last 5 years. I had JBLs.
Which are considerably bassy. I mean, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, you should be able to get plenty of low end, and you can
Yeah.
get a good amount of it, but. That's the below the 80 hertz is where that's such valuable real estate, because that's where
It's where you like feel it more.
that's where
Makes you want to
the
like dance if it's or something. You know, it's
that's where
like the
the
balls.
I mean, like that's one of the biggest problem areas. Just guessing on the low end. Having to go out to your car and check it and make sure the low end's good. When you can't hear that, it's just a kind of a shot in the dark for the most part. But then there's also like the opinion that what separates the men from the boys is the low end in mixes. And when you can't hear that,
Yeah,
I mean,
you're a boy.
yeah.
You're always
Yeah.
a boy.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, but no, it's been awesome to have the sub and just having clarity and really hearing that low end, and then even like when referencing other records, being able to hear the low end on those records, and now I know what where the low ends should sound, or where the boundaries are sort of
Right.
just more naturally now. And so that's been awesome. The less you have to guess, man, makes life so much easier and less frustrating. Like
less trips out to the car, and less bouncing.
Yeah.
I remember so many nights going to bed so mad or depressed, because you're mixing all day, and then I don't know, you just hits you, I guess, before you go to bed. You listen and you're like, this sounds like crap.
Yeah.
And
you take it out to the car and you want to show it to your friends. And you're like, all right, this is I've been mixing all day. It's perfect.
Yep.
And then you take it out to the car and it sounds like absolute ass on the speakers.
It's such a bummer.
Yeah. Your bass is making everything rattle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it sounded great in the room.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah, that's
that's just how it goes. Like, that's just, that's developing your ears.
Yeah. It kind of reminded me of a question I had about, like, when you hit those particular roadblocks, is there anything that you do, like, to clear your mind, or any activities like playing games or like watching a movie or TV that is kind of a go-to for you?
UFC 3 beta.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So, one of the best things you can do is take breaks when listening or mixing. They say you should take about a 15-minute break every hour. I don't do that because you get sucked in, man.
Oh, yeah.
Before you know it, 3 hours has gone by. You know?
You get a flow state going, and you're like,
exactly,
you're just hyped on it for what feels like a few minutes, but it turns out to be like 3 hours past.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but yeah, like, to tear myself away, a good thing is a video game. Like, I'll play a UFC match. Which is 3 5-minute rounds, so that's 15 minutes. That's perfect.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
There you go.
So there's that. And then, the studio's in the West Bottoms right now. So, if I usually try to take a break in the middle of the day. I'll go walk down the street and get a coffee or something.
That's good.
Yeah, it's.
I heard walking helps a lot just to get your brain going too.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
it's probably a good side effect, at least.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, so another issue that I think a lot of people run into when mixing is mixing too loud. There's like a sweet spot of, I think it's 68 decibels is kind of the sweet spot for listening before your ears really start compressing.
Okay.
And it seems counterintuitive, but actually when it comes to balancing, mixing at lower volumes will help you be more accurate with your balances.
I've heard that a lot too.
Yeah.
I've heard about just turning down your mix in general.
Yeah.
After a while, at least, and just kind of test it out and see if you can still hear the low end and the high end and the mids all kind of balanced.
Well, it helps to keep your ears from fatiguing. So when your ears fatigue, then you don't have clarity.
I can sometimes actually feel that now.
Yes.
Like whenever I have like a session, you start to get like, it's just this weird, this annoying like feeling.
It's probably not good.
It's not the perfect word. It's a small like fatigue in your ears.
Yeah.
You can feel it.
It's
like
weird. I've never felt that until recently.
Yeah.
Actually, yeah.
So a good way to combat that is to listen at lower volumes, take breaks, and I'll take a break until I feel like I notice my ears less, if that makes sense. Like
So you're not thinking about it.
Yeah.
You do become aware of having ears.
Yeah, exactly.
What it feels like.
Exactly.
You're
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Man, I wish these weren't here anymore. Like, you do. You're like, I wish I could stop hearing for a little bit. Is kind of what it's like.
Yeah, it's just like
you're just tired of hearing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
If you really think about it, it's like, this is like a not normal kind of. Not a painful throb, but just sort of like a...
It's probably similar to watching too much TV up close, so your eyes get...
They don't hurt, but they...
Exactly. That's perfect.
Yeah.
That's what it feels like, but just with your ears. So, and then they say, like, you should... If you're doing EQ, you should bump up the volume a little bit because you can actually hear frequencies better, at a higher...
You can hear the low end a little better or whatever.
Exactly. Yeah.
That makes sense.
But, doing that for not an extended period of time is best.
Yeah.
So, if you can get good, and the other thing too is if you can get good at mixing at lower volumes, your mixes turn out better. If you can make things sound like, in the case of metal, energetic and aggressive at a lower volume, that it's
crank it up and it's going to be even better.
Yeah. So, it's tough at first because it's so easy to. When you're listening that loud, everything feels, more exciting.
Cool.
Yeah, exactly.
It's rattling the windows.
So, put it on hard mode, listen
Right.
listen at a lower volume.
Yeah, going back to talking about your new space. Was that kind of when you were like, oh shit, this is like the real deal here? Like when you moved,
Yeah, so
going from like a house to a pretty much it's a real studio now. You know what I mean? Like that final step.
it's closer. We'll say that.
Yeah, yeah.
So I don't know. Like the last place I had, I mean the place I'm at now is way better, but that was my first commercial space.
Oh,
And
you did have like a kind of an office type place.
It was an office.
Yeah.
Man, it worked out perfectly. So I ended up stumbling across this really cheap office space. It was like $350 a month, including utilities and internet. So I was like, that's so perfect, because the name of the game is to keep your overhead as low as possible.
Yeah.
So I was in there for about a year. They got a new owner, and he just ended up kicking everybody out. So I was without a space for, I think, like 4 months after that.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's just tough, because when you lose your space, then you lose a chunk of your income, because I do more recording than I do mixing. And so it's hard to get ahead when you're not making as much money,
Right.
So it worked out. I actually got the newer space with a couple other guys that were looking for a cheaper space too, and one of the guys ended up finding it. And so, it's not perfect, but it was somebody had built it out to be a studio, and it's not perfect. There's a salon above us, and they're always pissed at us.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah, and unlike the building doesn't have heat right now.
Oh, geez.
So it's been kind of a mess, but the space is cool, and
looks
it's
really
plenty of
cool.
room. Yeah, thanks, man. I've learned the room now and stuff like that, and so it's definitely getting the job done, and it looks more legit, but
It does.
it's not without its issues.
Yeah.
I'll say that, but
It's really classy looking, I feel like.
it's cool, man. It's got a nice rustic feel,
Mm-hmm. Lots of brick.
Yeah,
Yeah.
brick and hardwood floors, and it's just in an old warehouse building in the West Bottoms, and
Nice.
but it's cool, man. It's a cool environment too, just like I said, even just walking to go get a coffee is just like, I don't know,
Get a different vibe.
yeah.
See
It's
some different sights.
it's an interesting vibe down there. It's like, I don't know, it's just perfect for me, I guess, because it's like, it's not pretty, but
Gets the job done.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly, and that's where I'm at. That's where I've been at for years.
Kind of reflects kind of on what your philosophy is a little bit more.
Yeah. I mean, I'd like to be in a nice, prestigious place.
Yeah.
Like, that'd be cool, but
Just part of the journey.
yeah, we're still Rocky 1 right now,
Yeah.
Like warm up.
Did you even ever see yourself in a place like you are now? Like when you were doing it out of your house? Like, could you have envision
so
that?
this is pretty cool. Like, there's these really awesome studio videos from a studio called Minor Street Music, I want to say, but the name of the video series is called Weather Vane Music, and they have this I don't know, these really, really nice studio vlogs that are more like mini movies of the process of them recording this band, and they're interviewing the bands. But it's like, it's such a beautiful representation of the recording process and the creative process, and they capture it so well. But I remember watching one of these when I was in the basement of where my studio was at the time, and I'm watching it, and I'm watching a I don't know, for some reason, there's a shot of this guy drinking coffee, looking out the window in the city, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like, that's just part of it for me. Yeah, I'm like, oh, that would be so cool. It just has that right creative vibe. Coffee.
It's what you picture
building.
when you think about writing. Like,
yeah,
it's kind of rainy out, and you got a notepad.
Exactly, and so
it's like the final state of your dream.
yeah. So, the other day I'm walking into my building, and I have a coffee in my hand, and the building has a rustic feel and look like that. I'm like, this is kind of like that video. This is pretty cool.
Living it.
Yeah. So it's like, I guess I did, even though I'll take whatever I can get. Like,
for sure.
As long as I have a place to record and the room is like, I'm not fighting the room a ton,
like
I'm
this,
happy.
Kind of.
Yeah. I mean, I would, like, if this is what I had to work with, I would.
Yeah.
But I'm just, thankful to have a place anywhere, just because I don't have to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I was without a place for 4 months, and that sucked. And, it's just, I don't know. It just, it's to put out music, to be a part of music, to be creating it somehow is so therapeutic. When you lose that, even if it's just for a small amount of time, you're like, if you really love it, you'll learn to appreciate it in those times of loss,
Yeah. I was talking about that with Jimmy, like yesterday, the day before, even just like we had this room completely torn apart while we were painting it. And it was a couple weeks. That was it. And even though sometimes I might go a couple weeks without doing it or without trying to make music, just knowing that I can't was like torture.
Yes.
It was.
You have no outlet anymore.
Right.
Yeah, it's just like, what do I do?
Right.
I don't really know what to do with myself, because even if I'm not making music, I'm at least like I'm like thinking about doing it.
Doing something
Right.
music
Like, it's always in the
related,
back of my mind, like, you need to go upstairs and
I should probably
try to work
record
on something.
something.
Yeah, just like feel like I need to.
Right.
But
I don't know. I go long periods without really. Basically, I just torture myself for months at a time about not writing or not writing enough, and then I'll have a certain day where everything just flips, or like it builds up to a certain amount, and then I just like write for weeks on end, and everything sounds like I think it should, and it's all working fine, and then it just goes away again.
just like get into a flow, kind of flow state.
Yeah.
It can be frustrating, but
Yeah.
I've kind of learned my own my cycle with it now.
Yeah.
I guess.
Doing podcasts helps too.
Yeah, it kind of it's just that same
It's kind of the
same
same
spot.
Yeah,
and
same
creativity,
feeling.
yeah.
Just doing something. Although I will
Just
say
doing
it is
anything.
definitely like I feel like I'm definitely putting myself out there a lot more than I ever have with putting out music.
Yeah,
it's a lot. It's very intimate, is what Jimmy said. When I was talking about the other day, it's just kind of, you really are putting yourself out there. Like,
Yeah, man.
Exactly as you are.
Yeah,
it's intimidating.
It is, and especially with like how harsh people can be.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm ready for the YouTube comment sections.
Yeah, I want those to start. I want people to hate us.
I want to get roasted.
I don't know why they would. I mean, but just like
That's just the
people who
rule.
don't know how to give
Yeah.
criticism and like stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean,
interesting.
there's so many factors of why people will be negative about other people's art, and I shouldn't talk because I've been
Oh, we're all guilty in a way.
I've been one of the most critical elitist dudes
Yeah.
ever. So, but stepping away from being, doing the band thing helped me to realize just how wrong that was. It meant so much to me. And I just wanted my hard work to pay off so bad that anytime I would see other bands that weren't as technical or weren't as
like,
or didn't work as
why
hard
is
or
it
whatever,
working for them?
Didn't
But,
shred as hard.
yeah, it'd drive me nuts, and so I'd just be negative about it, and just being on the other side of it now, I just realized just how pointless and negative that is. And so now, I definitely try to do, like, if I don't have anything nice to say, I don't say anything.
Yeah, that's a good rule of thumb.
Yeah.
Hard to follow, but
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I am a sensitive person, and, people will send me their music, and if it's not good, I can't be like, this is
No.
crap, dude.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
You can't crush their soul.
I can't,
No.
man. And that's a good thing. Like, I'm glad that that's like more of a problem now for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that's just part of it, man. You just have to. You have to have thick skin, you know, because people they're gonna talk crap, and either you're gonna make somebody insecure, or you know, or somebody's gonna just be a jerk and you know, just be pompous and hold whatever superiority they have as a musician or status or whatever over you. And you know, it's tough because usually, you know, musicians are sensitive, and so that stuff can really bother you. But
sad boys.
All of us.
yeah, you just can't let that stuff. I mean, you got to learn from it. You know, like you can learn from all of those things. You know, and it's important to be honest with yourself if you know that there's room for improvement. And it sucks when the delivery is harsh.
Yeah, when it hurts.
Yeah, but you know, prove them wrong. Like, get better. Like, you know, try again tomorrow. Pick yourself back up and try to learn something new that day, or put in a few more hours of practice that day, and just keep getting better. Keep getting better. You know,
using it as like fuel.
Exactly. So. That's what you have to do, man. That's what you got to do. And you know, it's funny. Like, I feel like I'm such a different person than I was like 10 years ago or 15 years ago. I feel like when I was younger, I had maybe a little more grit, like naturally. You know, I remember like practicing between the Buried in Me riffs when I've been playing guitar for like 3 years or something. Yeah. You know, and just being like I'm not going to let this riff beat me. Like, just getting like
fingers are raw. It's 3 a.m.
Yeah.
Damn it, I'm gonna get it.
Yeah, but just having that like that like just dedication that you're gonna overcome that obstacle. You know, and so I have times where I struggle with that for sure when things are tough, but you know, because gosh, running a studio business is so hard. Yeah, you know, it takes a lot of grit to you know, keep going, because it's super competitive and bands don't really have money, and you know, it's just tough, man. It's really, really tough, but you got to have that. You have to have the just that stubbornness, that fire to keep fighting, to get over whatever mountain is in front of you. You know,
right?
But yeah, it's
just like anything else in music.
Exactly.
In the music business.
That's what I was going to say too. Yeah.
It's all just, there's so many people doing it. So many new ways for really anybody to record at home and get their stuff out there. Why would they, you know?
Yeah, I was on your page reading about oversaturation, that article you posted about how easy it is for people to put out music now. Yeah. Like with just having software, basically.
Yeah, you could do stock software usually.
Yeah, or it can be, most of it's like free even, and you can have like a decent thing put together with it. So I was hoping you could talk about oversaturation a little bit. Yeah, man,
that is you know, that's a battle I'm fighting just as much as any musician. Yeah. You know, or band or whatever.
You have like one band, but you have like 10 guys that want to record them.
Yeah, exactly. and usually the cheapest guy wins.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. And so
even if his product isn't as good.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. And so that's tough, but yeah, I mean, oversaturation, definitely, it's a real issue. The barrier to entry is lower than it's ever been. You know, the recording software is cheap. Everybody's got a computer. There's your studio. You know, a couple $100, and you can be doing your own demos and that sort of thing. And then as far as distribution, putting your music out there, I mean, everybody can get their music on iTunes Spotify for $20 a year.
Yeah, I was trying to figure out how to do that. I did get my stuff on like Spotify and all that. It's super easy.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I'll never be able to do that.
Yeah, they're not going to like it enough.
You just give like a company on the internet $20 and they just do it for you.
Yep.
And they do it on every single website. And it's like, oh, I can be like taken seriously now, I guess.
Right. Yeah. And, you know, the real challenge is to break through all that noise, because there's so many bands, and there's not really let's say there's a lot of mediocre or bad ones. And so you get lost in that sea, you know, because everybody pretty much does the same thing, right? They put out recordings, they play shows, they print merch, and, you know, then they just scream for attention on social media. And everybody's doing that.
Yeah.
And so
I'm trying to get better about that.
Yeah, it's tough, man. You know, I think that if you, like, we have to stop just going through the motions, and we have to think about the purpose of our moves. And so what's the goal? The goal is to you know, gain the attention of potential fans, industry professionals, companies for an endorsement, whatever. You have to think about how to get in their head, and how to get them to turn it, right? And so basically the key is adding value to people's lives. So when it comes to potential fans, how do you add value to your ideal potential fan's life? And, you know, obviously, like, the whole going through the motions thing that we've been doing isn't really working so well anymore. You know, like, there has to be more, you know, there has to be new experiences both on and off the stage. Like, what can we do now to earn people's attention? How do we become the choice over Netflix on the night of your show? Or
doing anything really. Video games or
yeah, it's tough, man.
Just breaking through that barrier of like, I don't want to leave the house.
Yeah,
right, exactly, dude.
It, you know?
I mean, how are you going to get me out to your show? Because
I think about that all the time. Like, if I were marketing this out to myself, would I even like?
Right.
Or, you know.
And so
that's a good way to look at it. Go ahead.
Sorry, I was going to say the tough thing about that is it requires energy, right? To think up an idea that is going to possibly entice somebody. And it doesn't have to take money, but sometimes it does, you know. But I think that, you know, the more bands start to think, you know, in terms of more, business minded, and when it, and implementing effective marketing, you know, into their game plan to get people to come out to their shows and to buy the records and things like that. And the other tough thing is like, it's going to change in a year or two. What's working?
You can never really catch up.
Yeah, when you figure out the recipe for this year, it's probably not going to work next year. So you're gonna have to keep thinking. But it's just, you just have to be aware. And one of the toughest things for me is like, there's always a conflict of I don't know who I am, you know, sometimes to try to get those results. And I usually try not to compromise like my integrity,
what you stand for.
Yeah. When it comes to
about.
Trying to win a band over, or you know, or any of that kind of stuff. So, you know, like I'm not going to be like a meme guy where I'm posting memes just to try to get, you know,
attention of any.
Yeah. Like I've, you know, and I have done like one or two, but it's like more of a joke. Like
It's a play on that.
Yeah, exactly. Like, here's me doing a meme. like I would do a meme.
Someone's
like
going to make a
meme.
meme of you making
Exactly.
a meme.
Yeah. So, there's certain things that I'm just like, but that's the thing. That's branding,
Yeah.
And like, what is your brand? Well, my brand is definitely not like, it's not memes, you know? It's not, look at me, like, I hate it. I don't like the attention, you know?
Yeah. It's like people who, whenever they're like in a position like that and they're flashing it as like money or things.
Yeah.
Where it's like, hey, look at this. This is the stack of cash I made or whatever. Or this is the new car I'm driving. Like, I feel like that this stuff doesn't work.
Or even your gear, I guess.
Or your gear, yeah.
Like look at the new...
Yeah.
Yeah, or even like the band or the band member that tries to be edgy and says something stupid that's offensive.
Yeah.
Just
to get it, to stir something up.
Yeah,
and get some
exactly.
attention. Yeah.
Like that is like, I'm the opposite of that. Like, I'm never going to be that guy.
Right.
That's good.
That's good. I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah. and it's just
You're
like...
a minority nowadays.
Yeah.
Yeah,
In that world,
I mean...
for sure.
and I guess if that's what you got to do to get people to notice you or whatever, I mean, I guess, good for you, if it works.
What you gotta do.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm just not going to be that guy. So what I found for me, and I think this is like, I think this translates to most anybody, but the key nowadays is just building authentic relationships, right? And it's tough for me, especially because I'm an introvert. This is one area why I do allow myself to flex, because I have to, and because it means something. It has value, but building relationships with people, that is a great way to turn heads and build momentum and get attention, is to invest your time into other people, and so I've got like almost 5,000 Facebook friends. Every one of those people has gotten a message from me,
That's awesome.
and not everybody's responded, but
like a personal message, not a copy and pasted.
like I really do try to get to know these people to the best of my energy, to the best of my time. And sometimes like it's sort of like an empty conversation, or sometimes the dynamic isn't there, and that's fine. Like, that's gonna
Not
happen.
everyone, Can't win them all.
Right.
Yeah.
And then sometimes you have a great connection with somebody and you're like, oh, this is awesome. I'm like, so glad I did that today,
Right.
And that's really cool. But there's always just a cost to everything, and but I think that if you're willing to put in the time and to try to develop those relationships, that's a really great way to build real organic support and interest for what you're doing. And it's it's tough. It takes time. It takes energy. But that's a surefire way. I think so. That's sort of like my answer, I think, to cutting through the noise, the oversaturation, and like, you have to think about where your ideal, potential fan or client or whatever it is, where are they going to get value, and where is that place that can parallel with what you're doing,
Right.
So like for me, for instance, like I'll add a ton of people, like from like a metal musicians blog, or I mean, not blog, but
Like a
Facebook group. Yeah, exactly. And I'll look through through a bunch of the people and try to find somebody who I feel like is in a metal band or something. they're probably in a metal band if it's a metal blog, but
Right.
or like say Kansas City Musicians or something.
Yeah.
If it looks like they're in a rock band or a metal band or something, at least with energy, like I'm probably not going to add a DJ.
Right.
You know,
because they do their own stuff. And,
Yeah.
they're fine.
And I try to stick with stuff like that I want to work on too.
Yeah.
You know,
So you can be genuinely interested. and
exactly.
contribute.
That's where I do my best work. So, but yeah. So I'll add like, I don't know, 75, 100 people a day or something like that, and you know, just try to get to know them.
Yeah.
Like, you know, send them messages and you know, I mean, but you don't have to limit it to people from those groups. Like if you want to get to know an industry professional or whatever, you know, try not to be annoying, but try to build a relationship with them.
Yeah.
You know, don't sit there and spam them and be like, "Hey, check out my band." Like, don't do that.
That doesn't work.
No.
Yeah. I used
It's got to
do
be
that.
organic.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you have to think about value again in their terms. Like,
Yeah. What can you add?
Why would
Yeah.
I? Yeah. What reason do I have for even clicking on this link?
Yeah.
Because I have a very busy day.
exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, people like to talk about themselves. That's their favorite subject.
For sure.
You know, so just try to talk about them. You know, try to ask them interesting questions, and just try to build up, you know, rapport with them, and you know, and don't try to do it too fast. But if you can build like organic relationships with people, like that is what you want to do.
Yeah, I have
that is a key.
Huge talent, really.
Yeah. Because your friends are always going to support you, but then you have to at some point start trying to branch out a little bit.
Yes.
Yeah, I have a little experience with that. I'm on a couple of like the music production pages, which is a lot of like EDM and like top 10 type stuff, which is cool. A lot, like more so it's people doing that. Like a lot of people like different countries and stuff on this page. And but there's been a couple guys that I've gotten like pretty close to, weirdly enough. I just made a post one day. It was just kind of a random thing. I was like, hey, I made this cool sound. Like I was thinking about making like a tutorial for it, and it's modeled after this artist I really like. And then those people that like that artist on that page found it or whatever and started adding me, and I started talking to them. We have
Nice.
like super similar interests in the
There you
same
go.
music, and a couple of them live in like Australia, and like it's like, oh, like, you know, that's only happened a couple of times, but it's like, oh, this is actually like an organic, like I'm friends with this person
Yeah,
now. Like I
for
want to,
sure, man.
like I'll be up, it'll be the middle of the night because it's like the time zones are so different, and I'll be just chatting with this dude about whatever. I mean,
Yeah,
it's pretty cool.
That's awesome, man. And it's like you can build real relationships,
Yeah.
deep relationships with people, you know, organically online that, you know, that can end up supporting you and whatever you're doing, or just build awesome relationships.
Yeah,
But
and I've loved his, like a lot of his stuff
Yeah.
too. The guy I've been talking to, it's like, oh, this is a whole nother artist that I never would have known about, and
Right.
now I'm like a actual fan of his. Like, like I can sit and listen to his stuff on his like SoundCloud page for like
Yeah.
hours.
That's huge.
I
we
think
did
you
it
showed
one
them
night.
to me. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's always good
awesome.
to find that.
definitely.
Earlier, you brought up something about the just how quickly the music industry in general is kind of moving forward, and I was wondering if there's anything that you see on the horizons that might change, like the way we hear music or just the whole music industry fundamentally. If there's any one big thing coming, maybe a new technology or anything like fidelity wise or anything like that you know about.
Yeah. I don't know. I'd have to think about that for a minute to see. I think that, well, what I hope to see, and I think that needs to happen for sure, is I think bands just need to become more business minded. They have to, you know, start educating themselves on marketing and things like that. You know, it's just, you know, back to the oversaturation thing. There's just too many bands. There's too much music to listen to, and people can listen to any song they want on Spotify at the click of a button. Like, you have to give them a reason, you know, to you know, earn their attention and then to click on your music and listen to it, or however they're going to listen to it. But
what about music, like music rating? Like with that, I was reading something about that, was kind of with the oversaturation thing, about having a music rating system in place.
Yeah.
Where talking about having like a way for people to like be able to break through all the oversaturation. That would definitely change.
Yeah.
Is that what does that answer your
Yeah, it was really just any kind of new, not necessarily a technology in a physical way, but just a new change in like the way we stream music. Now we have access to everything. So in order to, like what you said, cut through all that.
Yeah.
All the mix and everything.
Well, how about video, you know? Like it's not enough to just have music anymore. You know, like we have to think of ourselves as entertainers, and you know, video is king. You know, it's probably always going to be king. But
it's one of the oldest. It probably is the oldest art, or one of them. People make music forever.
I mean, I think that the more bands start to really rely heavily on video and content, you know, video content, I think that'll help turn heads and get more attention. I mean, that's not really anything new. I just don't think people are really, the average band isn't really taking advantage of it. And, you know,
that could be the next step.
I mean, the more bands do that, the more they're definitely going to increase their chances of getting more attention and traction and things like that. And, you know, but it is hard because, I don't know, at least for myself, like I'm introverted and like I said, I don't like the spotlight. So
yeah, it's not what you want to be doing.
No,
so it's extra hard.
Yeah, I don't like, you know, I don't like cameras on me and things like that. I don't feel it.
You're screwed.
Yeah. It's just, you know, I don't know. I get out of my element really easy when that's going on. And it's, I mean, I'm sure the more I did it, the better I could be at it, you know, but just learning to, you know, I wish it was enough for music, good music to, you know, to really, you know, be a staple, I guess, in people's lives, but you definitely have to supplement it with some good video content and stuff like that. And so, you know, it's again, you know, the barrier to entry there is pretty low too, and you know, that there's certainly courses out there to teach you how to, you know, shoot camera, you know, shoot your camera, and you know, best practices and
editing and
I mean, there's just all sorts of little things like the rule of thirds, right? Like, you know, that's kind of like a best practice with I don't know, I don't even know video terminology, so I'm not going to pretend to
the grid or whatever on the camera.
Exactly. Yeah. So when it comes to like an appropriate position for, you know, a subject in a video, there's a rule of thirds: the left side, the middle, or the right side. And just learning things like that, like learning little things to, you know, present yourself the best you can, you know, is going to improve, you know, your stock and help keep people interested and not like, you know, more concerned with like, what is this? Like, why are you not in the rule of thirds or whatever?
Like, he doesn't know.
Yeah, exactly. Or maybe they don't know either, but it just seems off. You know?
You don't realize what it is off, but
something
doesn't feel right.
Right.
Well, think about even Facebook with the video thing you're talking about. Like, how often do you see like just a song link pop up on Facebook that's got a bunch of hits? You know what I mean? You're always looking. Everything is video on Facebook, and that's where people get like most of their information. So it's like this hot new music video or whatever that's being like reposted so many times, and that versus like Facebook doesn't even really have a way to share music except for from like outside websites.
Yeah.
You know, there's no like Facebook music player or something.
Right.
It's all video now.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I definitely, the average song I see in my newsfeed or whatever definitely doesn't have tons of thousands of plays or anything like that.
Right. But or like what actually shows up in your feed is stuff that's like it's a video. It's been hit like millions of times or whatever. Like even sponsored stuff. I mean.
Sure.
You know.
Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, I don't know. Like in my news feed, I mean, I guess it's well, yeah, sure. Like you'll see sponsored stuff, but I don't know. I don't see a ton of that stuff.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe
you have better manners on Facebook. So
Well, you're also probably not mindlessly scrolling through Facebook
that's what I mean.
most of the time.
I don't know. I do a lot of that.
Do you?
But I think it's like likes, like what you like, right? Because
that's true, too.
It's targeted. Like those ads are targeted. So if you like X, you know, I don't know. I don't seem to get a ton of that kind of stuff. But what I do, you know, end up seeing, I don't know. I think the bigger, like, thing about that is just like the crappy quality, the crappy compression with Facebook, you know. It sucks.
It does
and
suck.
Facebook likes Facebook, so if you try to, you know, add like a YouTube link, your reach is going to go lower.
Yeah,
You know,
I figured that out too.
it sucks.
It's a much smaller link too. It like you scroll past a Facebook video and it's like takes up your whole screen.
Yeah.
And then YouTube is like a quarter of the size.
Yeah.
And people just kind of scroll over it.
Yeah, I mean, and it just the reach is smaller, so less people actually see it. You know, like it sucks because, again, that's another way you have to get creative to try to get people to, you know, see your stuff. I think it's better if you comment your media that isn't native to Facebook on the post.
so it's more active.
I've been doing that.
Yeah, because I don't think it really penalizes your reach
Right.
if it's in the comments.
I've been doing like posting a picture.
Yeah,
Because that
pictures
takes
are
up.
good.
Yeah. Post. Oh, hit that light. You just touch it, like the base. One more time.
What is the base?
Yeah, just touch
Anywhere,
it.
yeah.
There you go. That's good.
Sweet.
It's weird.
Yeah, it's really touchy. But yeah, I've been posting like a posting a picture, and then posting the YouTube link like after whatever I've written out.
Yeah.
And that seems to at least get a lot more like likes and shares and stuff.
Yeah.
Because it's not this tiny little thing.
Right.
You know.
Yep.
Kind of stands out a little bit better.
Yeah, and it's probably getting to more people. You know, because the link is in the comments.
Right.
So yeah, pictures are good. Definitely, that's gonna, you know, turn more heads and get people's attention easier.
Right.
But
Do you sponsor ads?
not very often.
I've done one and it's weird. It's not as like easy as it's like, oh, I'm gonna pay for this and it's gonna take off.
Yeah,
And it's like 4 people have clicked on this
yeah. There's
out of like 500.
there's definitely an art to it, and it's changing all the time. So there's this guy who runs this page called I have to look it up. The Smart Indie, and
Yeah, I've read some stuff on that from you've posted. Yeah.
yeah, he is posting some really good stuff. Virgil Sweat, that's his name.
Perfect.
Yeah, it's an awesome name. But yeah, he's running this page, the Smart Indie, and it's, man, there's some really good information in there. And he did a post on targeting with your ads, and it's really good.
Really?
Yeah, I even learned some stuff watching that that I hadn't seen before, and I'm like, you know, I'm definitely
cutting-edge
curious.
stuff.
Yeah, I want to try another ad soon, but yeah, I mean, what I found, you know, I don't really. I mean, so I'm not necessarily trying to get that much media out there or content. I mean, I could post an ad, for the studio page, trying to get more likes or attention or whatever. But and I guess it wouldn't be bad to do that and supplementing, actually, reaching out to people, continuing to build those relationships and things like that. That's what works the best for me.
Mm-hmm.
So I spend my time doing that.
Right.
But, if that wasn't working, I would definitely be trying to do more ads. But
Yeah.
I just find that messaging people and interacting with them is far more effective than anything. So
Yeah. Yeah, I remember being like way younger and like being in bands and just like copy and pasting, like just literally adding like 100 people at a time.
Yeah.
Copying, pasting.
and that used to work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It did.
Yeah.
And now there's
your
everyone's
target
doing
audience
that.
Yeah,
has
if
changed.
it works,
Yeah.
awesome. But
Well,
it doesn't really work anymore.
Right.
You know?
And these are also like 14-year-old
Yeah, they're all
girls
your-
because I'm a 14-year-old
that's your target.
kid. Yeah, exactly. It's a little bit easier.
Yeah.
But now everybody's so busy and they have their own things going on that it is really difficult. Even getting
Yeah.
like sometimes like family members to listen to it is like it's tough.
Yeah.
Like, even
Like, you're not a kid anymore, Dan.
Gaining your like close friends as fans is tough.
Right,
You know?
which is why being multifaceted with your skills, I think, is so important. If you can create compelling videos, that is going to lure people in to listen to your music and things like that. So
Yeah, that's a little bit what the idea of the podcast is. Well, it's another way of expression, but it's also like trying to stand out a little bit. And people who aren't listening to my music, maybe they're listening to the podcast.
Sure, absolutely.
And then they're kind of, I guess, giving it like value more because
Yeah.
people are getting to know me.
exactly, yeah. So yeah, people are able to connect with you.
You said to
more.
get them to listen to the podcast.
Right.
That's the next.
Yes, that's
the
good.
next thing.
That's definitely a great way to connect with more people and in a different avenue that may attract certain people more than others and things like that. And so yeah, that's great. Like that's definitely a good way to.
I feel like it also helps, like it almost can grow itself a little bit too. Because whoever the guest is, that's kind of the idea, is to have a different guest on.
Sure.
And then people who, like you and I are friends, and these people are friends with you. So I'm kind of creating like a network, I guess,
Sure.
or like it's like a web. And then if those people are friends with you, then them and I can be friends too.
Right,
Or, you know what I
exactly.
mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Like in a less direct way than that.
No, yeah.
But that's kind of the idea.
100%.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's just creating like a community, sort of. This is what I
more of a-
want to do.
yeah.
Like symbiotic relationships. So you're helping other people by bringing them on here.
Yeah.
Kind of getting the word out,
Because there's going to be,
and they can help you just by having an audience that might be interested in that.
right,
So
there might be 100 people that listen to this or whatever, and 80 of them may have never heard of you. And now they
Sure.
know. There's 80 more people that know about your business.
Right. Yeah.
So that's
Absolutely.
pretty cool.
Yep. And then in turn, the people who may end up checking it out from my circle. Yeah.
Yeah.
Learn about you and what you guys are doing.
Right.
So for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of cool.
Yeah. Mutually
I always find
beneficial.
out more about what we're doing whenever we do it. Like,
kind of
oh,
just
yeah.
started it like,
Yeah.
well, I don't know really
Like,
what
this will
we're
be
doing.
fun.
Yeah.
I remember like for years we were talking about, we were constantly like, man, we should do podcasts one day. Like, wouldn't that be cool to do someday?
Yeah.
And then just kind of just started
really
doing
you just
it.
Yeah.
realize like, oh, you just have to actually go out and buy the stuff to
Yeah.
do it and then do it.
Yeah.
That's-
And most of it we had already.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not most of it.
I mean, that's
some of it.
that's the thing, man. It's just doing it,
Do it.
It's
Yeah.
easier said than done for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. We overcomplicate things so much, so many times.
A lot of creatives are more, I guess, anxiety prone too.
Sure.
So you can probably get inside your own head.
Yeah.
Keep you
Dude,
from
I
actually
do all the
doing that.
time,
Yeah.
especially with this, because I'm like, I can't imagine. Like, I'll think of it in like somebody else's perspective, and I'm just listening to myself,
role-
and
yeah.
I'm like,
You're your own worst critic when it comes to it.
I'm just thinking like all these people think I'm an idiot.
Yeah.
It's easy to do, man.
Yeah, even when I'm talking, sometimes I'll
Yeah.
get in my head like while we're doing them, and I'm like, somebody's gonna think that was stupid. You know, it's tough, but
Yeah, it is. But then, that just comes to like, being concerned about what other people think about you, too much,
a lot of it's fake too. A lot of it's your mind just kind of trying to
exactly.
to like pull you back in.
Trying to keep
Yeah.
you safe at all times.
Right.
Yeah.
And I know that, something we're planning about talking about was comparing yourself to others and how that's like just not a good thing.
Poison.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, exactly. I mean, you can only be the best you can be. When you start comparing yourself to other people, and how your life is in comparison to theirs, or
Right.
your skills or whatever, none of that matters. And you can't control other people. All you can control is what you're doing.
Right. Trying to get better.
Yeah, so it's like in that instance, thinking about what other people think about you, and what you're doing, it's not being present in the moment, which is so important.
Seems to be a recurring theme about just being present and trying to live in the now is what they say.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's so easy, especially now with all the distractions we have, to not be present, but
right.
For sure.
it's more of a matter of finding out what you can do to get back in that state so you can be creative.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, for
And
sure.
not to mention you're comparing yourself to somebody who's had a completely different
Life.
path.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
You're seeing their posts or whatever on social media, and they're doing all this awesome stuff, and
Yeah.
you're kind of just sitting there, but you don't know what path they've had either.
yeah,
you
I
know?
mean, that's the thing. And the other thing is like, I've heard it said so well that social media is a highlight reel.
We talked about that
Yeah.
with Evan on the last podcast
Yeah,
a lot.
and that's the other thing too. For, social media makes us so, I don't know, hyper. I guess aware of others and how we stack up to them, which is not the attitude you should have. But it's just really easy. We're constantly around every corner. Just have that, that distraction, that temptation to do that, and it's not beneficial for us at all.
Yeah, it's
All
very
we can do-
unhealthy.
Yeah, all we can do is our best in the moment. know.
Yeah, it's easy to get into like a depression when you're looking through all that stuff
yeah.
and
Yep.
getting like wrapped up in and seeing people do all this awesome stuff. When they're not posting that stuff, they're doing the same thing you're doing. They're depressed too.
Yeah, yeah,
Everyone's-
exactly.
Everyone's perpetually depressed.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully not, but that's it's definitely
It's a sad reality.
yeah, high potential,
Yeah.
Yeah,
but I
definitely.
don't know. It's tough times, man.
Yeah.
It really is. It's everyone. I feel like every generation says it, but
It's
it hurts.
It's very true. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we're in this weird place where we can have whatever we want at our fingertips, like pretty much immediately, and it still doesn't satisfy us, and
And we're starting to figure that out.
yeah,
I feel like as a culture.
yep,
Yeah. Been just trying to just surround myself with more positivity
yeah,
in general.
super important.
This helps a lot.
Yeah.
Talking about going or surrounding yourself with people that are like more successful than you are, or they're like on a similar journey
Sure.
is and there may be a couple steps ahead of you is huge for me. Like
Yeah, you don't want to be the best out of your group of
Yeah,
people at whatever it is you do. Yeah.
right.
'Cause
Yeah.
you want something to look ahead to and
Yeah.
be able to have something to shoot for and know that that's even possible to
Right.
improve on. you
Yeah,
know?
and getting little tips from people
Yeah.
and
So you don't remain stagnant in whatever you do.
One of my favorite quotes I've heard over the past few years is, "You're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with," and
Heard
it's so
similar
true.
things, yeah.
Yeah, like and you don't have to stay within that circle. Like you can certainly upgrade, you know. But you know, it's true, and you know, it's definitely something to think about and to be aware of. But sort of back to what you were saying about positivity, I spent a lot of time alone, you know, doing the studio thing. And one way that I can do that is by like listening to audiobooks and, you know, bringing in positivity, you know, that way through, you know, it sounds cheesy, but like certain like self-help books and things like that,
positive
you know,
affirmation. And
yeah.
stuff like
I mean, that stuff makes a huge difference.
My whole life, I always looked at it and kind of just kind of like turned off. But once you actually kind of listen to it and you realize it does actually change the way that you think.
Yeah, it's not for crazy people.
No.
That's kind of the stigma it has probably it
or
doesn't
people
have
that
to be.
just can't help themselves, so they have to turn. It's like, no, this actually does.
I feel like it's
build
people,
a little inside of you.
Yeah, I feel like
sure.
it's people that have actually figured it out.
Yeah,
and we should be listening to them.
Well, yeah, and it's like, you know, people who are where you want to be, you know, and so like there's, you know, a lot of times like the books that I'll read parallel as like, you know, a self-help book, but I mean, I pretty much only listen to business books, you know, but like there's a guy, Grant Cardone, and he like, man, he really pumps me up, but he also just instills a lot of positive belief in yourself and things like that, which is super important, and especially with to combat all the negativity we see on social media and things like that. You know,
especially in your career path too.
Yeah,
because it's such a hard, competitive road that you're down.
Yeah, you need every edge, every advantage you can. I should say every ethical edge.
Yeah,
you know,
without sacrificing your own
morals.
Yeah, or bringing somebody else down.
Yeah,
or, yeah.
You don't want to get to the top and have no one like you anymore.
Right.
You know, no peers anymore.
Exactly.
It doesn't matter anymore.
You've trashed every single relationship you ever had with somebody.
Right. Yeah. That reminds me of another quote that I heard that I really like, and it was like, there are 2 ways to have the tallest building in the city. One is to build the tallest building in the city, and the other is to tear all the others down. You know,
right?
And
that's good.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I know the temptation. I've been there to be that guy who tries to tear all the other buildings down. But man, it's just like, yeah, well, like you're saying, when you get to the top, you have nothing else.
Yeah, who's gonna?
Nobody else.
Yeah.
Boy, what a lonely, terrible place.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's not how I want to get to the top. That's for sure.
No.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's a good place to stop right there.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well,
that was awesome.
Yeah, thanks for coming on, man.
Yeah, for sure.
It was really good hanging out. Yeah, it was good to see you.
Yeah, you too.
We'll let's definitely do this again.
Yeah.
Real quick, do you have like a website, or are you just doing Facebook?
Yeah, I've got a website. It's just www.kimura, KIMURA recordings.com.
Cool.
And then Facebook is facebook.com/Kimura recordings.
Cool.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome, man. It was great hanging with you.
Yeah, you too, guys.